Hello, I'm Steve Sexton, your host, and welcome to the Silver Hair Tsunami. With over 100 million people in the United States over the age of 50, this demographic is going to have a profound effect on economics and many other things for decades to come, whether it be health, wealth, finances, real estate. The Silver Hair Tsunami show is all about educating you, getting you the information you need to know in order to managing the changing tides of retirement. It's about getting you the information so you can make a prudent, informed decision that impacts the quality of your life. On today's show, great show, we have Wayne Dunlap. You know, he's the top travel blogger in the world when it comes to boomers. He's going to talk to us about how to be the person on the plane that's paid the least amount for the seat. Now, the next two segments are really exciting because they deal with things that we're all dealing with when we're over 50. I'm 52. I have five brothers and sisters. My folks are coming to the point where they're 80. And when you start getting over 70s, in the mid-70s to 80s, you start dealing with health issues. And I see this with a lot of my clients. And we're going to be dealing with, hey, how do I take care of my elderly parents? Hey, we've got spouses that are taking care of their husbands or wives that might have Alzheimer's. How do you deal with that? How do you not get burned out as a caregiver? And then we have Steve Barlem. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Liv Home, which is a Liv Home care solution company. Wonderful company. They're going to talk to us about how to stay in the place that you want to stay for the rest of your life as opposed to going to a long-term care facility. We've got a great show for you today. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Hi, you know what? We just got our taxes done. You know, it's the 18th of April. They're all done, they're all finished. This is a great time to do some spring cleaning. And I'm not talking about with a broom or a duster. I'm talking about with your finances. See, we just got finished with the holiday season. Hopefully we paid off those credit cards. And before this distractions this summer hit, it's a great time to clean up those finances. Now, I've got 5 tips for a fresh, refresh start for your finances for the rest of the year. First of all, do a budget inspection. This is get 3 markers. Get the last 6 months of your credit cards and your bank statements. Use one color to highlight all the utilities, the rents, all the things that you have to pay. The second one, highlight things like Netflix, the vacuum cleaner you purchase, things that you need. And the third one, for those mindless purchases, such as the 3rd or 4th cup at Starbucks, or those multiple nights out, or the meetings out for lunch. Now, by doing so, you'll see what you spend mindlessly on and maybe possibly cut it back a little bit, enabling you to stay on budget or reduce the expenses so you could save more in other places. Next, declutter. Debt. Hey, it clutters up your finances. The best way to eliminate debt is itemize all your credit cards. The one with the lowest balance on top, the other ones below that, write the minimum check to each one of the other ones, but the one with the lowest balance, pay as much as you possibly can. Once you get that one wiped out, move on to the next one. You'll get some great momentum. If you need a debt worksheet, you can go to the website at the Silver Hair Tsunami. Next, go paperless. Hey, it's time to embrace that electronic billing. You know what? Not only will it save you all that clutter lying around the house, but it'll save you in stamps. In fact, many companies will give you $1 per month to do that. And the reason being is because they won't have to pay to print out the statements as well as for the stamps for the statements. For you, it'll save you about $70 a year. Next, dust off your tax plan. This is a great time to get your financial professional and your tax person together to understand how the money is flowing onto your tax return so you can lower and eliminate those taxes moving forward. If you do that, guess what? You'll have more money in retirement, more money to spend, more money to save. And last but not least, you want to take out the trash. Good rule of thumb. If you've got your bank statements and your W-2s, get rid of them at the end of the year. Just keep the end of the year statement. Next, tax returns. You want to keep them for 7 years. For a complete list of what you want to keep, what you want to throw away, go to my website at the Silver Hair Tsunami. Big rule of thumb, you want to shred anything that has an account number, a tax ID number, a PIN number, a social security number, a birth date. That's our tip of the day. Stick with us. We'll be right here back with Paula Shaw, Steve Ballmer, and yes, Wayne Dunlap's going to talk to us about how to pay the least amount for the seat on that flight.
Hi, I'm Steve Madsen. My wife Debbie and I are the owners of this fabulous home in beautiful Coronado. We decided to put solar in the home because we wanted to have a smaller carbon footprint and we wanted to save some money. I'm a retired contractor and I've worked with Baker Electric in the past, so when I found out they had a solar division, I was ecstatic. They're a good company, got integrity, a good work ethic. I would definitely recommend Baker. My wife and I are extremely happy with what they've done for us.
Hello and welcome back. You know, as I said before, there's a lot of things that are going on with that 100 million people over the age of 50. If you're like me, I'm in my early 50s. I have 5 brothers and sisters. My parents are going to turn 80 this year, and there's a lot of issues that go along when people get older in life. In the 70s and 80s, there's health issues, there's incapacity issues, there's Alzheimer's. And how do you deal with it as a family, as a caregiver? And that's the reason why we have Paula Shaw. She's a transition specialist, and she's come to talk to us about those issues. And they're really big issues that we're all going to be dealing with, and we want to get some of that conversation down to help understand what's going on and what we can do. Paula, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, Steve.
Now, the big question that I have is, you know what? People start taking care of their parents, and a lot of times parents who've never had to take care of anybody are saying, hey, I expect my kids to take care of me.
Right.
But what a lot of people don't understand is those kids are now giving up a portion or a good portion of their retirement to take care of mom and dad. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing, but studies also show that when somebody's taking care of a parent or a loved one or a spouse, they're usually the next person to have health issues or incapacity issues, and they're going to have to get taken care of as well. Right. So there's a reduction in life expectancy, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. I mean, there are a lot of pros and cons to taking care of that elderly parent. On the one hand, it can be a great bonding experience. You know, there can be time for those conversations that maybe you never got to have before. It's also a way of being assured that your parent or whoever it is you're caring for is getting quality care because you love them and you know you're going to give them quality care. And it can be cost effective. It certainly is going to cost less than having them in a facility or having somebody take care full time. However, on the downside, it sucks up your life. I mean, it's a huge, huge commitment. It takes a lot of time. A lot of times people who are caregivers get so into the caregiving, they forget to take care of themselves. And let's don't forget that while you're taking care of this person, you're also a griever a lot of the time because you're now watching this person decompensate or perhaps even die. And you're dealing with your own feelings of losing that person and losing that relationship.
And on top of that, you know what, I see some of this in my practice where we have a loving wife or a husband start taking care of somebody with Alzheimer's. And to give you an example, one of my clients, his wife would follow him around everywhere, and she would walk out the back door, walk into the front door, and he would open up that door for her, and then she'd walk to the back door and wait till he opened it up because it was locked in and walk around again. And this happened like all day. And the stress that he had because he was I want to put it right. He was dealing with a 2 or 3 year old again that didn't know where she was except for with he was around. Otherwise, she got afraid and scared and acted out. So it was really tough.
Wow. So in essence, he lost his own life, or at least the quality of his own life, because he pretty much had to be there all the time. And talk about some grief issues. You know, we all sort of have our plans and dreams for how life is going to end and what we'll be doing with that spouse at the end. And going from the front door to the back door probably wasn't what they had in mind.
No.
So you're dealing with the loss of the dreams, the loss of your life and your lifestyle, not to mention the loss of what you did in your own life that now you can't do. You don't have that kind of time. It's a big loss of freedom.
So what should people be doing in order to take care of themselves, deal with that grieving while they're taking care of somebody?
It's a good point. You know, and one of the things you need to remember, and I'm really adamant about this, remember what they tell you on the airplane before it takes off. Put the oxygen mask over your own mouth before you assist someone else. You have to take care of yourself. Whatever that is for you, you need to exercise, you need to eat right, you need to have somebody who can take over for X amount of time, whether it's a few hours a day or a day or two a week, so that you can go to lunch with the girls or get your nails done or your hair done or take care of your personal chores and do those things that gave your life meaning before. Because if you give up everything, the well goes dry. And if you aren't doing something to fill that well back up, it doesn't matter how many people line up with their little tin cup. There's nothing to give out. The resources are gone.
So, you know what, one of the big things is, like I said, I'm one of 5 kids. And a lot of times when people are looking at care for mom and dad, it's a family thing.
Absolutely.
Is that a good thing to get the whole family involved? Because, you know, I've got a brother in Indiana, you know.
Yes.
How do you deal with all that?
You know, I think it's critical, because I can't tell you how many sessions I've done where the person sitting with me is saying, I'm so upset. I got stuck with everything. You know, they're out of state or they have a really busy job, so they feel like they shouldn't be participating. I think even if they are out of state, they should participate financially so that this caregiver can bring somebody in to relieve them. There needs to be family discussion and decisions about how to handle things and to know when more professional help is needed, because that does happen too.
Yeah, I also seen a lot of animosity between the family members that are not in town. And for some reason, when mom or dad passes away and there's a separation of assets, they feel for some reason they're entitled to their share, even though they didn't contribute to anything.
Right.
And they just, you know, hey, thanks, you did that. That was your job to do.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's really interesting. How's the best way to talk about those things? What's the steps somebody should take?
Well, you know, I think it would be a great idea to have a professional like yourself or somebody on your team that handles that kind of thing to guide people with what are the things we need to look at here. What are the particulars of the care? What kind of care needs to be given? Because if care gets to a level where somebody with training really should be on board, you know, that should be one of the family decisions, because you may have the most wonderful determination and the most wonderful goodwill toward that parent. But if you're not competent, or if you're a small person like myself and that parent is overweight, or a big person and you really can't safely help them in the tub or from the bed to the chair, it's time to bring in a professional.
So in other words, it's a reality check for everybody that's involved.
Yes.
And it does make sense to have a professional, either somebody like yourself, or as a financial person says, you need to look at this, 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 and this when you're dealing with that care, because there's finances involved, there's caregiving involved, there's the relief of that person giving the care involved. So that means if it's a family member, hey, somebody's got to come in while they want to go on vacation, that type of thing.
Yes, absolutely. They need to still have a life, even though they're being a caregiver. I think the mantra of any caregiver should be, self-care is not selfish.
That's true.
It's critical. It's not an indulgence, it's critical.
Paula, thank you so much for sharing this on the show today.
My pleasure.
Hey, if you would like to get Paula's book, it's called Grief, When Will the Pain Ever End? It's a great book about transitions, whether you're, lost a loved one or dealing with something like we just talked about. Stick with us. We're going to be talking to Steve Barlem. He's the Chief Operations Officer of Liv Home, which is Liv Home Solutions Company that, that client I talked about. He actually got to the point where he had to say, hey, I can't handle this anymore, and he ended up putting his wife into a home care facility, and that was his best option as opposed to having somebody come in the home. But a lot of people, like my mom, she wants to be able to remember things, or if it has Alzheimer's, she wants to be able to see something and remember part of her life. And we're going to be talking about that with Steve Ballmer in just a few moments, so stick with us. Wayne will be up right after that.
My name's Kevin Grangetto. I live in Escondido, California, and I had my system put in by Baker Electric Solar. When they got here, they were ready to go. Started early, 6 in the morning. They parked off site, so they were able to get everything in on the roof, hooked up, and done in a matter of 3 days. And it was really easy for my wife and I to work with them. You just don't want a lot of these challenges to be, affecting the way that you do your life. And when they got in and out of here, it was excellent. It was easy. It's just the way they told me it would be.
Hey, welcome back. You know what? We've seen many people go through the incapacity issues, health issues. You've heard of Alzheimer's. A lot of people want to stay at home. Why? Because they might see a picture or a dish and it brings them back into reality and they remember wonderful parts of their life, and then it kind of goes away again, but they want to stay at home. And there's wonderful companies like Liv Home. We have Steve Barlem, the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Liv Home, here with us. Steve, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. Great to be here.
You know, you have a great name, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Just had to start that out. Hey, look, tell us about what Liv Home actually does.
Sure. I would say that Liv Home is an elder care solutions company. And what I mean by that is it falls under three different buckets. The first one is we help families make really good decisions. We have nurses and social workers who work one-on-one with families and provide decision support so people can figure out what are the best options. They can take action, and we give them the support needed to help get people unstuck. The second piece is about practical care, of getting people in the home, because oftentimes with just a little additional care, with some help with medications, help with bathing, dressing, whatever it might be, some laundry, meal preparation, things like that, that will allow somebody to live comfortably in that familiar environment like you were mentioning before. And lastly, the component is about life enrichment. When Mondays are like Thursdays are like Saturdays, what a miserable way to exist. And so our focus is really about marking time in meaningful ways for our clients and creating purposeful activities that engage people so they can get their needs cared for by the caregivers, the social pieces pulled together, and then they have the oversight of the professional.
Now, talk to us about the purposeful activities, because a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, purposeful activities. You know, a lot of older adults suffer from what I would say loneliness, boredom, and helplessness. And so we really strive to create activities that are customized to that older adult, that bring joy to people's lives, that make them smile, that they look forward to, as opposed to just sitting and watching TV, as opposed to just waiting outside, you know, sitting on a bench somewhere. It's really about finding what engages with them, what will bring joy to their life, and then we do our best to come up with some interesting ways to just make people happier.
Now, one of the big questions I have is, what kind of questions should we be asking ourselves? What kind of tasks should we be considering when it comes to long-term care?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, first of all, it falls under wanting to know, what does that person want and what do they need, and sort of the balance between. So it's really important that you start thinking about, what are my potential needs, what do I want, what's important to me, and what are my risk factors. And that's where we help families, sort of laying that out. Another is asking the question, if something happened to me, or it didn't take my life, but if I was incapacitated in any way, have I communicated to somebody in my family or somebody who is special to me what I really want? And so having that conversation, putting it in writing is critical. And the last piece is really about, who do I want on my team? The financial planners, the estate planning attorneys. And I would propose to you that there should be a care manager. Somebody who understands what are the resources available for older adults, and really somebody who can pull that together as an important part of that team, along with the physician and the like.
I totally agree with that. I believe in having an ensemble of experts to help, and that's the smartest thing to do.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Now, I find out that people, when they look at their health, it's third or fourth on the list behind the vacation, the car, the whole shot. When should people start looking at their options?
You know, it really depends. I would say, if you ask me, they should have been doing that last month, a year ago. That people, if you want to have some control and some options available to you, doing it ahead of time is the best. Of really starting to lay out and figure out what's important to me, what do I need. I'm going to be going to New York actually in a couple of days, and I know I get to the airport early. I don't like the stress of running up to the gate and, you know, will I make it, will I not make it? So it has to do with your comfort with risk It has to do with sort of who you are, if you like to wait till the last minute or you like to have more control and know what your options are. Now me, I like to know what my options are and learn about things and sort of put things in order. And that's what we try to help families with.
That's wonderful. You know what? I totally agree with that. I find out, I encourage people to take the time to plan now for about how they'd like to see this portion of their life transpire out.
Yes.
And I find out the ones that do, the family's less anxious, there's less anxiety that goes along with the whole shot, and it just makes for a better transition and less stress for the whole family.
That's right. It's all about peace of mind, and that's what we're about.
Steve, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
If you'd like to get more information about Liv Home, go to the Silver Hair Tsunami website. They have some wonderful resources there, and I want to tell you this personally. Steve doesn't know this, but many of my clients have utilized Liv Home to stay in their home for many, many years and have wonderful lives, especially in that last portion of their life. So again, thank you very much. Stick with us. We have Wayne Dunlap. He's going to talk to us about how to be the person on the plane who paid the least amount for their seat. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I am Bob Schuster. This is Arlene Schuster. We live in Escondido, California, and we chose Baker Electric Solar to install our solar system at our home.
We've known the Baker family for many years. We're both pioneer families here in Escondido. We chose them because of the integrity of their family.
But they were first class. We know what good service means to the customer. Baker Electric is the epitome of that good service.
It's the best experience we could have ever had. We're very pleased.
Hello and welcome back to the Silver Hair Tsunami. My name is Steve Sexton, and you know what? It's time for that bucket list segment again. Now, I have a wonderful guest. He was here before. His name's Wayne Dunlap. He's the author of Plan Your Escape. Now, one of the things I want to tell you about Wayne is Wayne just loves to travel. He's been to over 100 countries with he and his wife. In fact, he's one of the top travel bloggers in the world, according to TripAdvisory, with over 120,000 social media followers. And on that blog called unhookednow.com, you're going to get travel bargains, travel tips for keeping you safe, getting you more, and making your travel more enjoyable. Now, one of the big things I want to tell you about Wayne is Wayne doesn't get paid a cent. He just loves to travel. So one of the reasons why we want him on the show, because he's going to give us great information. So Wayne, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me again. It's such a pleasure.
Now, one of the things I love to hear about you, and I heard it at the last travel conference, you did a segment on how to be the person on the plane that paid the lowest for their seat. Now, tell me about that.
Well, we just took a trip where we had 34 flights in it, so we had to be the people that had the best deals on the plane. But what's happened in today's travel industry, a lot of the great sites out there, the Orbits and the Expedias of wonderful sites, they've been bought out by each other. So if you go on there, you'll see that prices are within $1. It's almost like, so some of the new up and coming sites are actually better. The Farmers Organization did a study of all the different sites, and they're one of the biggest travel organizations in the nation right now, and they found that a site called skyscanner.com over the average gives the best possible rates. And so that's really nice now.
So that's skyscanner.com. Okay.
And then internationally, we've been doing a lot of research when we do our international flights. And then we would call a company called airtrex.com. And they would match or beat anything that we could find out there. What they are is a large consolidator, and they buy tons of airfare, and they make deals with all the airlines. And so what you can do on there is you go on there and you can usually surely get one of the best deals on international airfares as you can find anywhere. And what's a nice little bonus, they have free trip insurance from one of the best companies in the world, Travel Guard. And so that's a nice little bargain to get a good deal and trip insurance.
You know what? I know AirTrex because it saved me $4,000 when we were traveling, and I was just so shocked that I had to ask him are you sure? Are you sure?
This is such a good rate.
It was just like, wow, I saved that much.
It's been a savior for us. And when you can save thousands of dollars, that means you can go a little bit further with your trips or just save thousands of dollars. Either one is really nice. And then another one I always like to tell people about, and Europe is typically the most popular international destination for most Americans, so I always like to give the best examples for Europe. And all these budget airlines, and there's a lot of them. We just booked an airfare on a company called Monarch. I never even heard about it. It's Portugal. Anyway, but none of those flights will ever show up on the standard booking sites. So you can go to a site called flycheapo.com, flycheapo.com. Now, what it will not do is book your fare, but what it will do is if you type in, I'm going from London to, say, Barcelona, it'll show you the discount airliners that go to them, and then it gives you links to go to the websites to get a really good deal.
So in other words, it pays to go to Air Cheapo in order
Fly Cheapo.
Fly Cheapo to research where to go to in order to get the best rate.
Right, that you won't find on the standard websites.
Now, if you're looking to get book travel for air travel, what is the best day of the week to do that?
Yeah, and the time is right now is that some of these airfares companies, they're fighting each other to get the best bargain and best pricing, and they can change the airfares on the same flight 3 times in a day. So there's a little window there that on the weekend they get busy fighting each other. Saturday's a good time. Sunday's one of the best times to find the good deals, and then by Tuesday afternoon, then it changes. So that window between Saturday and Tuesday afternoon is sometimes the best time to get the best deals.
So what is the best days to fly to get the best deals?
Now that is a really good question, because a lot of people just fly on the weekends, and so the best days to fly is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday.
Oh.
So many people fly on Sunday, they bump the rates up. So that's the most expensive day to fly on. So that's just a little tip. You can save hundreds of dollars, but just changing your flight by one day.
Now, I have a question. I am a person that likes to plan. So if I'm 6-8 weeks out, how much am I going to save compared to a month out, or being really flexible and waiting to the last second to try and find the best deal? What's the best way to do that?
Right. Well, domestically and international are slightly different, but it's good to book ahead. And that's study after study has shown. And they did a huge comprehensive study of 100,000 flights, and they found that domestically, 8 weeks out ahead, you can save about 19% on the average. And internationally, it's 24 weeks out ahead that you can save even more, about 24%.
Wow, that's wonderful. Wayne, thanks for being on the show and giving us some more wonderful tips on how to be the person who paid the least amount for the seat. I love that. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for having me.
You're
Appreciate
welcome. You know what? If you would like to get more tips from Wayne, you can go to his blog at unhookednow.com. But better yet, you want to go to the Silver Hair Tsunami website. Why? Because there's been so much request for his book, Plan Your Escape. You can go to the website. If you sign up and get the book on the website, you'll get it for free. That's about a $10 value, but it'll provide you a lot more value to that, especially from what you just heard today. Hey, wasn't Wayne wonderful? Just think, cheapo air saves you a ton on airfare. Many wonderful tips by Wayne. That's the reason why he's the top boomer travel blogger to follow. Top 25 in TripAdvisor's, over 125,000 people follow his blog. You want to too. So you can go to the Silver Hair Tsunami website to follow that. Now, we had Steve Barlem, from the co-founder of Liv Home, managed care solutions for the elderly. Wonderful company. I would look into them if you're in this situation. Paula Shaw talked about all those issues that a family's going to have and the things you need to do in order to make sure that everybody's on the same footing. And if you're a caregiver, how to recharge your batteries and get your own time. Now, that's it for today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.